you have to trust the person that's stretching you. While I'm in my facility, obviously we can't do anything right now, but when
Hmm.
classes are usually running and I'm doing partner stretches, I make sure to stress the fact that you can't be silly. Like this is something that you don't fool around with. Um, but I personally love doing partner stretches for myself. I have
Hmm.
my siblings or my dad or my mom or whoever that I trust that I know that if I say I can't go any farther, hold that, they don't move. They're a statue,
Okay.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Hmm.
those are the ones that I like. I make sure I'm warm enough. Being warm enough, super important to do static stretches. Be warm,
Absolutely.
be warmed up, and then partner stretches. I love them.
Okay. So if you were just starting, so you say that you've had some people that have been quite high, how long do you think it would take them to get themselves down into a split position or
What
near
an
or near?
interesting, what an interesting question. I get that so actually quite often. How long will it take?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't have the lucky number for you. How
Hmm.
often are you practicing? Are you committed to your training?
Hmm.
Right? And how is the progress going? I need to be able to specialize what we're doing and if it's working for you and if it's not, right? Like we mentioned before, both you and I mentioned there are different body types. So I
Yeah.
don't I don't have that magic number where you'll get it in 2 months. Like
Hmm.
if there's a training program that tells you you're gonna get a split in a week, like you probably already had the split to begin with, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. 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 It takes a lot of time and patience and knowing your own body to achieve anything. Yeah.
yeah, and having the right coach. Right? You need the right coach. You need someone who works with you, who listens, who could track your how you're doing and where you're moving. And you just there are a lot of factors that come into play when doing this kind of thing, right?
So let's see if we can dispel a myth, or is it a myth?
Okay.
What about things like cod liver oil? Does cod liver oil help to stretch?
I have no idea. That's so interesting. Have you tried this?
Yeah. Over the
Did it
years, I've
work?
tried everything. Certainly help the joints. Yeah. Yeah. Keep the
Okay.
joints, stop the joints from drying out because the oil comes out sort of through your skin and also sort of through the bones. So yeah, it helped in that respect, definitely.
Well, maybe I got to take a look at that because I don't know. I just make sure that I'm rolling. Honestly, like I don't enjoy rolling my muscles out. I don't, but I know how beneficial it is to
Yeah.
roll.
Yeah. Yeah.
So doing that really loosens you up as long as you're
Mhm.
doing it properly too. All of this stuff, you need to make sure that you're informed, right? You need to know that you're doing it properly, right?
Mhm.
There are so many out of date things. There are so many like people with different opinions, and that's okay. But you
Mhm.
just got to make sure that you're educated and informed and doing the right things. So
Yeah.
I know rolling helps me, even though I hate it, but maybe that'll help.
And you're also a Guinness World Record holder. Can you tell
Yeah,
us a bit about that? How did that come about?
sure. So for those who don't know my record, it's most items kicked off people's heads in 1 minute.
Hmm.
So basically, that came to because my sister. So my sister saw it on, I think it was like Facebook or something, and she goes, "Sylvana, you could break that." And I go, "Okay."
Okay.
So basically, it took us a little bit of time to get everything together because I don't know if you're familiar with Guinness World Records, but if you're not flying someone in to, like an official, if you're not flying them
Yeah.
in, you need to collect a bunch of evidence to make sure that it's a valid record. So there's a
Right.
lot of guidelines. There are tons of guidelines. You have to apply to even try and attempt the record, which they accept you or decline.
Hmm.
So it took me like actually a few years to get everything going. My old high school
Uh-huh.
decided that the leadership class was going to help me put it all together.
Oh,
So
fantastic.
yeah, it was amazing. So we went to my old high school and we broke it there. Had a bunch of volunteers there. Some of my students volunteered as well. They wanted football in their head for some weird reason. And
I just wanted you to kick them.
like they don't get that already. It was so exciting. It's such a surreal experience getting that information from Guinness saying that you broke it and you're like officially amazing, which is their like thing.
Yeah.
I was like, thank you so much for saying I'm amazing. But
So
yeah, it's a lot of work.
where's your prize certificate kept?
It is kept in my dad's office.
Okay. Not on the wall of the dojo.
No, that it's super special. We have a place on the wall for the newspaper article, but the actual like Guinness certificate stays at home. It's like it doesn't. No one touches it. We can look at it sometimes, but that's it.
No,
Hopefully,
I get
we'll have another one to add to the collection soon.
Okay. Are you going to spill the beans? What are you going to attempt?
It's going to be another kicking record. But obviously because of everything that's happening, we can't break it yet. But you have to stay tuned for that one.
Not giving anything away.
Not yet. Only the kicking part.
Wow. You give me some additional flexibility, I'll take part.
Okay, sounds good. It's your head this time.
That means I'm going to need to fly there. Whereabouts in the world are you?
I'm in Ontario, Canada.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about the area that you live. What's it like out there? What's it like at the moment with COVID-19? How's that affected your school?
Our school, unfortunately, like I mentioned, our facility is closed currently. Both of the facilities are closed, but we've moved all of our lessons to virtual lessons. So we've been doing them via Zoom. I mean, I feel like a lot of schools are struggling right now to keep their doors open. We've been really fortunate in our members. Our members have been staying motivated, and like me and my family are also trying to keep people motivated, right? Like we're trying to keep people engaged and keep people excited about showing up to the next class. We've also implemented 2 free lessons a week just to keep people motivated, right? Like now's the time to just give back a little bit and try and inspire, try and motivate, try and get people off the couch. Because I know, like even myself, when it first started, like I was having a hard time getting the swing of things. I missed being here and seeing my students' faces, right? So even for me personally, like this has been very difficult. But I think the learning curve that we all are working together to get through has been really good. And honestly, it's motivated us more, us meaning like me and my students, to try and get to our next levels, to try and meet our goals and create some new ones, because you never know what you're capable of, right?
Yeah. So. And have you found that that you're doing a lot more training at home, or do you always train in your own dojang there? Let me confirm that for Kung Fu, is it a dojo or a dojang?
We call it the club.
I missed that interpretation out completely.
Welcome to my club.
Okay, well that's nice and easy for me to remember.
You're welcome.
So yeah, do you do any training at home?
I'm doing a lot more training at home, for sure. I used to come here more often just to do bag work, work my cardio that way. But I've done more cardio and more kick work at home and working my technical and my strength. So I feel like that's really benefited my kicks and just like getting my legs stronger. And I've honestly been stretching more, and I didn't think that was possible.
Well, we touched on flexibility, so we know you've got plenty of that. Now, how do you achieve the levels of strength then? What do you use to gain more strength in your leg? Because the beauty of this is that that's not only used in Kung Fu, but that's used in Taekwondo and any other kicking martial arts. So what are your secrets?
Are you looking for like kick strength specifically? Like how do you get your kick stronger?
Kick stronger is quite important. You
Yeah.
know, and also as you say, how can you manage to be able to hold that leg out, you know,
Yeah.
and keep it.
Yeah, so we touched on like hip strength specifically and targeting those areas to kind of like strengthen it to keep your leg up. But
Mhm.
honestly, before even doing that, you know what you need to work on?
Yeah,
Your fundamentals, your
yeah,
basics.
the
The
basics
very
always.
the very base, make sure that you're doing it properly, right? We got
Yeah.
to start at the bottom and then you start working it from there. So as you start doing it, depending on what you're working for, right? So like um kata kick strength versus sparring kick strength, right?
Okay.
Like, can you
Mhm.
leave your leg up for point fighting? Like, for point fighting specifically, like, a lot of it is like double up kicks and like switching up the area that you're kicking in. Are you familiar in
Mhm.
point fighting?
Yeah, absolutely. In Taekwondo, we do lots of well, it's continuous, but you're scoring points all the time.
Okay, so yeah, so you need to be able to keep your leg up for certain times and like switch up the area that you're kicking in
Mhm.
versus that like more static type strike snap that's in a
Yeah.
kata form, right? So
Mhm.
what I would say is what's most important is your fundamentals and then you're practicing, right?
Okay.
We're constantly trying to improve our baseline, and then repetition,
Mhm.
right? You weights on your legs. I have no problem strapping up an ankle weight and trying to keep my leg up with that.
Yes.
And then just repetition. You got to keep throwing, and not get frustrated when you're not kicking as high as you can be, right? There are different drills that you can be doing to try and get your leg up, like using a
Mhm.
wall and trying to slide your foot up against the wall.
Yes.
But if you come off the wall, you realize that your leg goes down again. That's okay. You just got to keep practicing, right? A lot of
Mhm.
people get frustrated, they run into that wall, and you just got to push through that and keep trying to practice it. The repetition and the consistency is key.
And what about so we're dealing with practice there. What about rest? What would you recommend as a rest period between working, so using the weights and everything else, and taking a rest after that heavy duty training session?
I don't know what rest is. I'm kidding. No, my rest days are full of rolling. So I'm gonna be sore the next day after using weights. I don't know a person that wouldn't be sore after using weights.
Yeah.
So taking that day off to roll yourself out and just chill out, super important. But also doing some dynamic stretches, right? Like even your rest days, just roll out, move your joints around, move your hips around, move everything around, and then just relax. So that's super important too, but I wouldn't say do nothing because then your legs are going to start seizing and that's when you're going to feel super, super stiff,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
So, so I wouldn't recommend just like stopping for a day. Like, yeah, relax a little bit and do other things like I said, rolling dynamic stretches, but I would take the day off to just relax and do that kind of stuff instead.
And how do you feel about isometric stretching, where you're using tension and then relaxing and then tensioning again? How does that fare in your stretching routine?
I don't do that very often, to be honest.
Okay.
I see benefit in it for sure. So for
Hmm.
some, the tenseness and then the release, and then you could kind of get a little bit deeper into your
Yeah.
stretch.
Hmm.
Some people that works. For me, it didn't. But so I don't think it benefited me personally, but I do see the benefits in that type of stretching.
Do you think that aids building leg strength quicker because as you're lengthening the muscle and then putting it under tension, that means that you should be building it all the time, right the way through the movement? Would you see that as a benefit?
I wouldn't say that that quickens your process.
Hmm.
So a lot of people think that there is like a fast track to doing this kind of stuff, and unfortunately there isn't.
Hmm.
You could see if it works for you, and if it is, that's great. Keep that up, but still, you shouldn't just be doing one type of something, right? Doing one type of whatever it may be, that's where you're going to hit a plateau. So say isometric stretching is working for you and you're getting it, you need to also do other things and then go back to that again.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
like I said, I see the benefits. It's just don't don't put all of it in one pot, right? You're just saying like,
yeah,
this is my key, this is what I need. But you need to also do other things. You got to put it all together and try, right?
yeah, yeah. No, I get that. And in your particular martial art, what's your favorite bit? What do you enjoy doing the most?
Interesting question. So if you would have asked me this like 5 years ago, I would have said forms and weapons.
Hmm.
But right now, I'm super into point fighting. So
Okay.
I have a different favorite thing like every year for some reason. I just get like randomly inspired and start practicing it like crazy. So,
Yeah.
so right now my heart is in like point fighting. I'm like super into trying to boost my cardio up and get my kicks faster.
Hmm.
But yeah, I just like the spontaneity of it, right? Like you don't
Yeah.
know who you're gonna spar next. You don't know what they're gonna do, and you got to try and react and work fast.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
also one of the most exciting things that I work with my dad. So like he'll hold pads for me, and it's like it's a fun thing for me to do. I just really
How,
enjoy
how,
it.
how have you been getting on in the competitions that you've entered?
So unfortunately, I haven't competed in a while. It's been
Hmm.
a little bit of time since I've gone to a tournament.
Hmm.
Just because I've been focused so primarily on teaching.
Yeah.
Um, but the last time I competed was a few months back. I won my sparring division.
Hmm.
But for the most part, I seem to do fairly well around where we are. My brother competes more internationally right now. He's a part of the NASCA circuit.
Hmm.
But yeah, just like I'm mainly coaching right now, and honestly, I'm like living through my students. So I'm just as proud. I'm just as happy and proud when they win as I would be there myself.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That's the joy of being an instructor, isn't it? You've got to kind of make a decision as to whether you're going to keep all the commitment to yourself and your own personal development, or whether you're going to then pass on the skills and knowledge that you've achieved over a period of time
yeah,
and give that to your students.
it's finding that line, right? That balance.
Hmm.
And I think that that's something personally that I need to work on is finding that balance because I do want to continue going to tournaments because I do enjoy doing that, but I love being a coach. I
Yeah.
love it. And I
Hmm.
love seeing them succeed. So I'm personally working on that balance as well in my martial arts career.
Hmm. Okay. No. Great. And what are your plans for the future?
The future. So I plan on continuing coaching since,
Hmm.
I really enjoy it. I love doing it. I love seeing my students and them hitting their milestones, hitting their goals. I get super proud. So I continue to coach, to teach. I have my social media goals, so
Hmm.
I'm constantly hitting my Instagram goals and just starting up YouTube. So I have some YouTube goals and continuing my Patreon tutorials and trying to grow that page so I could teach more people. I enjoy
Hmm.
doing it. I want to hit more um, different people around the world, which is why I started that, right? Like I could teach here, but I
Yeah.
also want to teach everywhere, and I want to be able to do that and see people grow. And
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Somebody's saying here that teaching is when you start to learn.
Oh wow, absolutely. I completely agree. Yeah, you
Hmm.
definitely learn when I would say when you hit black belt, when I hit black belt at least, it was less about me learning like forms and things and more learning how to teach others.
Yeah.
How to help them grow, how to help them grow mentally as well and getting that mental prep in competitions and teaching that. That's definitely something that I learned through my years as a black belt, is helping someone's mental game. So you definitely start learning. It's a different ball game when you're a coach.
And what kind of things do you cover in your tutorials?
The Patreon tutorials.
Yeah.
The Patreon tutorials are specifically for stretches, so flexibility,
Hmm.
mobility, and hip strength. So it's mainly lower body work. You're just getting some information on how to move properly and how to target various muscles. So the various muscle groups that you need to stretch out. So like we mentioned earlier, it's not just about one spot, right?
Hmm.
So I teach how to hit those different spots. Each tutorial is based on something different, a different type of stretch. I have some partner stretches and how to do it properly. But yeah, that's kind of like what my Patreon tutorials are about. Mainly that.
It's interesting. A few weeks ago, we spoke to multiple world Taekwondo champion, sparring champion, Carl Van Roon, and he also expressed about kicking and the fact that when you do certain kicks and you might struggle with it, it might not actually be what you think it is. It's
Yeah.
probably, the muscles that are in the opposite area that you
Mhm.
need to work on, not the ones that you think that you're working on. So that just rubber stamps what you're saying there as well.
That's absolutely accurate. I would agree with that 100%. And it also might not even be the kicking leg. It could be the leg
Hmm.
that is your
Yeah.
base leg,
Hmm.
right? So it could be anything, and you don't know